Okay, killer. Well, this is a really spicy and awesome, fun little group we have today. I was just really excited to host a mastermind this week as a little bit of respite from the outside world and getting together with some friends and some colleagues just to share some of the things we've been working on. I had some things I was going to share today, but I think I'll hold off on those because sometimes I take too long going into that. And what I'd really love to do today is to dive right in. If you haven't been to one of these before, they're super informal, but we basically go around and take turns just kind of sharing maybe something that we're working on, a big idea, a bottleneck, a challenge, something we're excited about in our work. And often these great conversations just ramp out of that. So I am hopeful that today's talk can be kind of a joyful coming together, a respite from all the other things that we've been dealing with in our
Um,
personal and professional lives in the last little bit. So I did want to, and I was really interested in this idea this week because I think this is generally this season between right now and the beginning of the new year is kind of I call it dreaming season, right? Kind of opportunity time because I think a lot of things start popping up and
mhm.
a uh, a lot of ideas start exposing themselves if you're paying attention. So I would like to, if you have something that you're working on, a new idea, something you're pivoting into, I'd love to flesh that out together. If nobody wants to jump in and kind of share something they're working on, I can kind of talk about what I was doing a little bit, or we can talk about it later. Uh, but yeah, just welcome. And if you're not, I think I'm going to go ahead and mute. I think that's Meg. Hi there, Megan. I see you. Just so uh, if you're not talking, I'm not hearing you. Would someone like to just say hello, introduce themselves, and maybe we can just jump right into the topics today? Maybe someone who hasn't been here in a while, give us a
Oh,
heads up. What's up?
no, go ahead, Nate. I
Yeah,
was
okay, Nate and Peter. Yeah, either one. Jump right in. It's great to see you. I'm stoked you're here.
Um, yeah, I had just in the last week launched my new website, which at the beginning of the summer I sort of impulsively hired a copywriter to redo the all the copy on my main course sales page. And I thought I was just going to be a little thing, and it spiraled into a complete redesign of all the facets of my website, which I'm excited about, but I felt very bogged down unexpectedly in that for a few months working with the designer and working with the copywriter and adding a new lead magnet and but the thing I'm really excited about is I built out this song library that's searchable for like with all the songs I've done YouTube tutorials on. It's all indexed so people can and they can filter it by decade or different categories. And I just launched that this week, and my audience has been really excited about it. So I'm excited to have that out, and now I can think about other projects.
Now, Nate,
Um,
does that live behind a paywall, or is that
no, no.
okay? Where does that live? Your song library?
On my website,
Yeah,
I
throw
can.
that in the chat.
Yeah. So here, I'll throw that in the chat, and then. Oh man, Zoom is always changing. Why I'm not seeing the chat.
Yeah, you got to click. It's in the middle of the screen. There's the little chat icon that'll
There it
open it
is.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
cool. And so I wanted to. That's awesome. But you've been grinding. So you hired a copywriter first. I love this. Is what I wanted. Like, that was
hmm
that an opportunity that popped up to you, and like a copywriter presented themselves, or did you seek out a copywriter?
I sought out a copywriter.
Okay.
I was listening to the James Tranko business podcast.
Hmm.
And he had this woman Jamie from her company is Savvy Copy. They're based in Australia. Um but I was just really taken with the way she talked about about empathetic copywriting and how she'll do interviews with clients of the person she's writing copy with to really get to know what the language that the clients use to talk about, their hopes and what they're looking for. And just the way I was really impressed with the way she talked about copywriting. And I just on a whim decided to reach out to her and just see, and we ended up working together.
Yeah, I really I appreciate you saying that because just like Megan just said, she hadn't thought about a copywriter. It's really helpful. Like writing your own copy is really difficult and you do it, but having someone who's good at it, that knows what they're doing, that knows the art of it, like you were saying, talking to some of your customers, getting to know you, getting to know the vernacular around what it is you're trying to do, and with really good intent and sales acumen in writing, bringing them into your funnel wherever they are at whatever point of the funnel that they're in, it's really powerful, right? It's a great investment and it's also a lot of work, right? Because it's something you feel like, I've been doing this for a long time. I just do my own copy, but you can learn a ton. And I bet you learned a ton too about how you would do your own copy. At least that's how I always felt. Yep.
Definitely.
Yep. So that's
Yeah.
very cool. Thanks
It
for
was,
sharing that.
yeah, it
And then the
was a big
designer came
investment.
second.
Yeah. And it was a big investment that ended up being like like I said, I was just gonna hire her for the specific sales page for one of my courses, and just I got really excited about it and ended up hiring them not for the homepage, that course page, and they redid a bunch of my emails in my autoresponder sequence. Like it ended up being a really big project,
Hmm.
big overhaul, but I'm really happy with it.
That's awesome. And I think that kind of the right action at the right time is what you stumbled upon. Because I see it, there's a lot of people talking about, oh, I'm going to build a website. So who do I get to build my website? And they hire somebody that knows how to build a website, where it's really the language is a great first step to redesigning a website because it informs so much. And like Steve, what you're just saying, and if you want to pipe in, go ahead. But that's amazing.
Totally.
We are way too close to what we do to spend our time talking about it, at least well. So actually, the copywriters that make music that do all my stuff now, they make fun of me all the time because I send over just my raw thoughts, and they have because I use these words like I'll put stoked in there or something. They're just like they have a whole messaging of making fun of me of things that they delete from my copy when I send to them. So it does really help. You're doing yours too, huh, Tressler? That's cool.
Nate, I gotta know. I'm super curious. Like, you went ahead and invested in this. Are there things that you're really surprised about how it turned out that you wouldn't have expected them to do, or things you never would have thought of, or is it drastically different from how you had been doing it?
It's a good question. I just feel like they articulated a lot of stuff in a much more accessible way than I would have. Yeah, it was so much. We did so much copy. It was just really nice to just to just trust them with it. Um, yeah, and yeah, like at first I thought that I was just going to be able to plug their copy into the previous design and wasn't going to have to rehire my web designer, but um, yeah, it's nice to have really strong copy and to have that lead the design. Um, but I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah,
But
and I think, yeah, it's a great question, and I would follow up with one. What you just did is we call it like this is called a strategic or a tactical bet. Nate's saying what I'm going to do is I'm going to invest in this copy and update my website and my flows. Right, you did all this stuff, and I'm going to relaunch this, and I'm going to hope for a higher conversion rate, more sales, right? This is what you're hoping to do is you're trying to bring more people in, right?
mhm.
And so one thing that's really, and I don't know, maybe you're doing this, but just for everybody that's listening, that's super helpful for you is without expectation or without the potential for being disappointed is having real benchmark tracking, right? To say, oh my gosh, I put 10K into this project, right? And if I would have done nothing, I was at this speed of sales, right? But I did this. And now for the next 90 days, what did that do? And sometimes, and you went all in and did all this thing at once. So that's a really big bet, a big strategy shift and a big execution shift. And sometimes, it's fun to do like tweaks, like change little words, just the copy, and then see if that does anything. Sometimes you have to do an overhaul and then say, okay, cool, what is this going to do? And one, it'd be really great. The person who did the work for you, they would love that data to be like, oh my gosh, sales over 90 days were up 60%. Some metric, an actual KPI that you can follow that's against what was before the change you made. And I think and honestly, it doesn't matter because you learned a ton from this experience and there's improvement and it's going to be better over time. It's a journey, but it's really great right away to say, oh my gosh, do I get an immediate return on this investment? Will it change things right away? Are there smaller tweaks that maybe I need to do that are going to like really unlock it? Am I close to it blowing up? So I don't know if you have that set up, but
I do. I have a bunch of metrics that I track every month.
mhm,
It's been there hasn't been enough time since I like
yep.
launched everything. Just with a very small sample size, it seems like sales are a bit better than they typically are over the last few days. Um, but I think it'll take a little bit to shake out. I mean, there's a lot of new people just entering into the autoresponder and like haven't gotten to I launched a whole new funnel and there's a lot of people that haven't, or no one's gotten to a lot of the new sales emails. And so, but yeah,
Cool.
there are a lot of different parts. Like I changed like 10 things at once. So,
Yeah.
but
And
I should know in a couple of months, like how the conversion rate stacks up
it'd be
overall.
awesome for you to come back and talk about it because this is sophisticated. And I dug in because I know that you're sophisticated about this process. And I think it's something we can all learn from, which is putting in these benchmark tracking metrics. How many people are opening that first email? How many people are opening email number two?
Mm.
Where are people clicking? You can fire map out the emails themselves. Which button are they clicking on? And you're probably doing that. And this gives you something that you can really find. Where are people getting stuck? Where are people leaving? And yeah, it'd be great to have you come back and talk about it. Because I think everybody, I could feel our energetic lights light up a little bit like, huh, copywriter, that's kind of a cool idea. So I could feel that. So anyway, I want to pass the baton. Hey, a couple more people joined us. Welcome. We're having a super informal chat. We're introducing ourselves, talking about an opportunity, new project we're working on, a challenge we're facing, and we're just chatting about. So if someone would like to say hello, please introduce yourself. Jump right in, Peter, or Ben. I think you were about to a second ago, but
Um, uh, so, hey, I'm Peter. I live in South Bend. I teach music. I take photos. I teach college class one, not plural. Yeah. Um, no, just the thing I was thinking to share is like as we head it toward December, something I've thought about every year for the past several years, and I think this might have been a Donald Miller thing where I picked it up from, but I can't remember, is this idea that like by the time you get to December, like you're thinking about next year's plans and goals. And a lot of times we're like ramping ourselves up to January 1st and like that's the day where it's going to happen. But if you already know, especially in like your personal life or something small, like why not just try it now? Because then you hit January 1st and you've already like established that pattern. And if you mess up, you don't have this like it's a new year thing to make you feel like, oh no, I didn't do the thing I wanted to do. And just using like the end of November and December as like on ramp to the new year rather than like setting yourself up to drop it like it's like a roll into a skate ramp instead of a drop in, I guess. Um,
Peter, do you have an example personally that you're thinking about? That's great wisdom.
yeah, so like just even as a personal thing, I used to try to do push-ups every day, and this past year, at the beginning of the year, my elbow was messed up and I couldn't do it, so I did like no push-ups all year. And the other day I was like, hey, I haven't done any push-ups in a while. So I went open my fitness tracker and now I do them again. And I
Rebuilding
feel,
those habits.
yeah, it's less pressure than it being January 1st, right?
Well, I was starting. That was one of the things that I wanted to share today. So, which is that same idea again. I see this window right now as I call it dreaming season, right? People are ideating new things, and when they're in that space, they're thinking about taking a little bit of a break. They're getting ready for the new year. Their minds are open to it. That's where opportunities for networking and your new ideas and it's a great kind of whatever, let's do it type moment, is why not launch it now, right? Why not put it in place now? Why not start that thing that you want to do now and to test it? And because I just feel like this window is one of those, there's seasonality to our work so much, right, throughout the year of when people are out for the summer or when people are working hard, and like we're in that window where people are kind of grinding, people are getting ready for winter recitals, they're nearing being ready for a break. I just feel like it's real fertile ground to start new big ideas. Like I've been starting to get that itch. And it's really interesting. I had a really lovely someone sent me a email this week that was just really awesome. It was somebody I'd never met before who's been in the Fonza sphere for a couple of years, who heard me on some random podcast. And the email was, and I was going to share it today, but I won't. I'll share it some other time. But it was, the basic gist was like, holy crap, I just did this and I literally make twice as much money now in like fewer hours. I can't believe that this thing worked. And I'm so stoked. And I'm going to speak at University of Texas, Austin today at my alma mater about this whole journey. And I'm teaching the guitar program there, which is a very awesome guitar program, by the way, run by this guy that I really, really admire. And I'm talking to the students there about this journey of being a music teacher and how it's really a successful career. And I just wanted to say, oh my gosh, I learned it from watching you, right? It was like, so it was really encouraging and affirming. And it really puts a lot of wind in my sails this week about what direction we want to do in our community of these growing teacher community, and doing better professionally, but also just, how I want to leverage that into the new year. That's the energy that I'm like, oh, what opportunity is going to come out of that? Right. So anyway, thanks for sharing that, Peter. That's awesome. And good luck with those push-ups.
Thanks.
Yeah, cool. Does somebody want to jump in, say hello? Did I see a hand go up there for a second? Is that
I will. Hey, I'm John. John Gray. I'm a bass player, teacher, guitarist. Lived in New York for a long time. Recently moved to Portland, Oregon. Um,
yeah.
Mostly teaching online. And I'm trying to launch an online program in the next year. And yeah, I don't know. It's great to meet you all. It's you were kind of talking about the journey right there, and like how somebody like overnight, like their life got a lot better. And like I'm kind of at the point where I'm trying to trust in success like that, because like I see so many salesy emails, or like, I get so many things in my Dropbox. Oh, only if you paid for Facebook ads, your life would change. Or like, and I'm just trying to like say, okay, I know I need to try things like that because I just don't get enough inquiries coming in. And like I don't know. It's hard to kind of verify success like that with kind of the modern way of doing things. Like, okay, how successful if you pay for ads, is it really going to help you? How successful is it if you do all this Instagram posting that they say you should do? Does it really help? And like I'm just like getting ready to shoot that shot, and not sure if it's really going to work or not. So, I mean, if anyone has experience or feedback or been in the same place, I'd love to hear it.
John, thanks for being here.
Of
And
course. Thanks for having me.
you asked that, those are leading questions that we could talk, everyone here could probably talk for 8 hours about, right?
Great. I
And
have all day. Let's go.
yeah, so they're real, those are great questions. You're in a new town, you're trying to blow up your new thing. You're like,
Right.
oh my gosh, I got this thing saying if I just do Facebook ads, I'll get 60 students and make $700,000 a year next month. And your instinct says, it doesn't feel right, right? But you really want to do this thing, and you see other people doing it, and that's what I mean. It's really great to be part of a community at different parts or different points in their journey, because they're all cool, right?
Right.
Uh, and you to just kind of, and I think I'll just open this up to people to jumping in, because I'm sure people have affirmations for you or encouragements. But this is the kind of stuff that's really great to post in the group about
Sure.
little things. Because one of the things you mentioned, I'll pick one thing you said, which is, what if I do ads, or what if I post to Instagram, right? This is a great moment to be like, oh, maybe that's the cart before the horse type scenario, where yes, Instagram can be a great strategy for certain things, right? Or where are you exactly in your journey? You're in a new town. Are you trying to build a community in your neighborhood in Portland? Because there are plenty of people who would study with you privately, who would love you, who would pay you excellently, who would come every week, and you could fill a studio up and build a community in a new town. right? Which is really cool. People that come to your shows, people to support you. And that's probably not going to happen through Instagram, right? There's probably other ways to do that better. And I think I'm going to just turn this kind of conversation over to the group for a second, because I think I saw Peter mention something about referrals, but if who wants to just kind of jump in and maybe give John a little bit of support?
Yeah, I'll pop in on that. Hey, John, I'm in Seattle with Eric.
Hey,
What's
So
happening?
John, I'm going to just stop you really quick, because Steve's a super heavy, super cool guy, majorly respected jazz musician, like all around, that everybody that does really well with this. And
cool.
yeah, so he would never say that, but I wanted to just
Oh,
share that for him,
see, I
because
need power referrals like
super
Eric
homie.
to say nice things about me, and then
Yeah.
uh yeah, so there's lots of different ways to do it. I mean, people find their niche and the spot that works. I know some people, they get lots of inquiries through Instagram or paid ads. I've been doing this because I've been in the Seattle area now for, I don't know, 20 years, and built up, that all started pre-social media, but just building really strong networks of like referral sources. I know Kelly Reardon's one of our Fons people, and she's a really great group, and hers is very much about finding, about being plugged in with your community and finding who like influential people are. Like, even when I was getting started, I had one band director who was started sending me some students, and then word got around. Um, and
Sure.
I'm still very much, my studio at the moment is, yeah, my studio's full, and I'm not interested in growing or scaling the private studio part. I'm doing more artistically and guest artist things, and I do these group improvisation workshops, which is another story, and that I'm amplifying more online. But the private studio, I've actually been uh prioritizing. I mentioned this before. There's some kids that all go to these really strong programs that are near my house. So I've actually cut out online lessons. Weren't that they're just not
Not
my
your
vibe. So
thing.
I've actually cut
Yeah.
out all of them,
Hmm.
because I'm in a good spot, I have a good space and local students, and prioritizing students that are like friends with each other and go to these strong programs.
Hmm.
Um, and then they start referring more of their friends, and I go into their schools, and I'm doing like a couple jazz retreats for these music programs just because I know all these directors locally.
Sure.
So, and that's one way to go, where my website doesn't even have lesson info on it.
Hmm.
Like, I told Eric, I had a random, like, someone found me on Google, and I was like, found my marketplace. I'm like, who's this random? I don't know if I have a spot for someone. I don't even know, who this is. Uh, so, there's different ways of going about it.
Hmm.
But yeah, really being, even if you are primarily teaching online, just parroting with some things that Eric have said, being, because it's impossible to market to, make your ad go worldwide. If you are plugged into certain communities and being trusted
Right.
there,
Yeah.
that can be really, really helpful. So for me, the referrals as a saxophone teacher, it's all band directors, knowing band directors, and they want their saxophone players to, not be out of tune and squeaky. And then once I get that referral, they say, oh, Mr. So and so said to call you. And then I don't really have to do any selling or comparing myself to other teachers, because when you get a good referral, they're just ready to sign up. And
Sure.
recently I've been, yeah, I mean, I raised my rates last year. I had people grandfathered in, and means Eric says, yeah, raise the rates, and then like I'm full again and have a waiting list. But I've been like volunteering more in the local schools just to get, it never it's felt great about our industry that it's very much, enrichment for affluent kids, and then the ones that getting the musical awards and this and that. So I'm doing some, got a really cool kid who's just scholarshiped at 100%, and being able to go into schools and being able to charge more um for my lessons and the workshops I do, and some things through nonprofits that I can go in and just at least help, yeah,
Mm.
work with all those kids that no way would ever be getting lessons. So
And
that's
and
another,
maybe really quickly, let me just kind of
yeah,
say back to you in another way, kind of what Steve said, just to abbreviate it,
yeah,
because these are all long tail things. These aren't the things
yeah,
that and I think there was a couple really important things that you hit on. I'm going to work backwards. One is pricing is a massive helper, and by pricing I mean pricing yourself appropriately and professionally, charging prime more than you're comfortable with, right? This is going to allow you to find your community that wants to support an artist, that wants to study, that's serious about it. I loved his idea about geography too, right? It's easier to build a business. It's easier for me to build a business in West Seattle right, than it is to in the Northwest or in the United States. It's a lot harder to get that. So the more niche you can get, right, even if it's your borough, are you in Southwest? Where are you?
In Southwest.
Yeah, nailed it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that is what people will be searching for when they're looking for lessons. Relationships with teachers at school, if you're, if you can get that going, that is so powerful. But what you're actually doing is you're building a network, being cool. When you charge more, you get more students, and then Steve's saying you get to do cool stuff like give free lessons to people who need them. Well, that right there is the best marketing you'll ever do, because people see that kid who's really good that Steve's working with, and then they want to work with him. And not only is Steve creating goodwill and good energy by helping someone who can't afford it, he's marketing himself, right? And this is a flywheel it's true marketing, and it's marketing that takes a really long time, and it's long tail. And you're at a phase right now where you might be grinding, where you just need to get some students right now, or build a, sell your thing or get your course going. And so you're really frantic to try to get out there, and you need to do that too. So maybe whatever the thing is that you're doing, you try some ads, or you see if you can bring some people into your funnel to prove yourself, to build your community. But all those long tail things, reaching out to other teachers or band teachers, how can you help? Offering to maybe help or volunteer some time, raising your rates a lot more than you think you should. Those are concrete things. And the last thing I'll say is I'm generally not a huge fan of business coaches, but a great business coach is really awesome. And Steve mentioned Kelly Riordan, and she's got, or Reardon, and she's got this program that she does, and it's a coaching program. And I know that she's super effective because I see her clients use our platform, right? So I can be like, oh, that's interesting. This is actually really work. So people, and what happens, people go in, they invest in themselves, they commit to these business practices that they're not used to. And over in an accelerated way, they really ramp their businesses, right? Because they're getting that support. They're doing the things that might be scary. They're cold calling, which might be scary to you. They're raising their rates to more than you're comfortable with. That might be scary. And then they get that affirmation that it works, right? You achieve this term, it's called escape velocity. Like once you start getting a handful of really devoted students who are super pumped on what you're doing, or a band director who wants to send students to you, then they just all start coming, and then you can't maintain them. And you're like, oh gosh, what am I going to do now? Now I'm slammed. So anyway, Steve, that was an awesome comment. I just wanted to speak at
Oh,
that.
I appreciate that. What do you think, John? Are you guitar? I see. Is
I'm a
am I stepping into?
bassist.
Oh, back.
Bassist.
Bassist. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, one thing when I was just getting going locally, it definitely helped to find. I got plugged in with some local community music schools or a store that had, a lot of referrals, and then just kind of how I got my foot in the door, having a studio space and meeting a lot of people in the community. And then as I started getting more referrals directly, I was able to cut out the middleman and leave all the stores because
Yeah, I mean,
because they take a big.
right. I mean, I did all that in New York. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
part of the reason I moved here is because in New York, the expectation is you're a travel teacher, and
Oh, yeah.
that's just untenable and horrible. So, when COVID happened, I got my life back, and I stayed online, and I have, I moved out here with like a pretty small studio, but enough to like kind of start with something. So like, yeah, it's trying to figure out where I fit in Portland, and how that works is been kind of the challenge.
Totally.
And also, I'm not exactly sure if I'm charging more than other people here already. I might be, but that's something I'm trying to, kind of figure out. But I think also I love teaching online, and like I do not like I prefer that I don't have people over. Like I just, I'm super into the online thing. So like
Right on.
for me, building like an online business with a community that is demographically similar but not necessarily geographically similar is something I'm more interested in. So like I don't know, I guess I would love it if all that just kind of fell into my lap, like a huge Portland teaching scene, but I don't know.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just not where my mind is at, just because I'm so used to avoiding the way things were in New York, with so unsustainable travel teaching.
Totally.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Then you have to find, who are the people that are looking for, for connecting those people that, yeah, demographically or value wise are similar. So that's a community that might not be regional, and the people that want the convenience of the online lessons, not like having to try to convince people who want it in person. No, no, here's why my online thing is better. That's really hard to do. So finding the folks that are wanting
I mean,
to convene.
I think it's older people, honestly. Like I have a fair amount of my studio is like people over 70, and like they seem less like, it's not like they're a parent who's thinking a kid is not going to be able to focus in an online lesson, or that they might miss the in-person companionship as much as someone who is a little older who's like, well, this is still companionship. It's maybe, I'm not counting on this online lesson to be my whole window into the world. It's just like, hey, this is really convenient, and like the teacher's really good, so why not?
Mhm.
So that's kind of the niche I'm going after. It's just finding the right way to kind of market to that demographic, because I don't want to be like, hey, this is the Life Alert guitar lesson channel. Like, hey,
Yeah.
this is it's like, how do I don't know. It's
Well,
that
so
yeah.
John, this is all you've given a lot of hints, and but all what's so great about this is
Sorry.
this gives you an opportunity to. It's probably overwhelming to say I'm an online guitar bass teacher. Let's go. But right, now it's like, well, I'm really effective with adults and professionals, right? And there's people that do that kill it. There's this guy, you should check out this guy, David Chang. He's like in our
Mhm.
group. He's a New York piano teacher, and that's his only thing. Super serious professional adults who want to learn how to play classical piano. And he's got so dialed in, and his messaging is so clear, and he's slammed, and he's doing really well. And so I think this is a great opportunity for where you are, and
Mhm.
as a group for all of us to help or to reflect where you are. So yeah, use the Facebook group if you get a chance. I think you're in
Sure.
there, right?
I think
And
so, yeah.
but I want before we left and jumped off, yeah, I feel like this story reminded me a lot of Nate's when I met him. He had moved to Portland from Brooklyn, right? You had a school there. Am I remembering this right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, John, welcome to Portland.
Yeah, thank you.
I moved here in 2020.
Hmm.
Also from New York. I was for many years I was a travel piano and guitar teacher in New York. And
Cool.
then in 2019 I opened a brick and mortar music school in Clinton Hill, but that was kind of COVID.
What was it called?
Echo City Music Lab.
Okay. I know.
It was very short-lived.
Sure.
Um,
I have a friend who does that too, or his name Marty Eisenberg. Do you know him by any chance?
I
Okay.
don't think so.
Sorry. A little
Um,
awkward to say that. But
No,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I just had to make the Portland connection. I'm sorry.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
no,
I want to
I
move
love,
on, but I wanted to just say, hey, you two say hello to each other. Maybe
Well,
connect.
yeah,
yeah,
we
Nate.
could. I moved to Portland with same thing with a bunch of online students from New York. I've pivoted away from private lessons, and I actually also specialize now in older adults, like retired people. But I do it more through YouTube and video courses. But yeah,
Yeah, I'd love to
if you
connect,
want to
man.
connect further, yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Killer.
I'll find you on Insta or your website.
Cool.
And
All right,
hey,
thanks.
thanks for being here and being so open, John. That's awesome. That was a great conversation. Killer.
Sure.
Hey, would someone like to jump in and share really quickly and what they're up to? Ben or Megan or Ruth or Jelena?
I'm ready to share. It's been all guys so far. We haven't heard from any ladies yet. I want to leave space, but I'm ready. Whenever.
Hop right in. That's great. And yeah, whoever would like to share. And again, there's no pressure to share. If you just want to hang out and listen, that's totally cool too. Just know that everyone's welcome to if you'd like to. So please feel free. Yeah, Ben, what's up? Tell us all
All
about it.
right, all right. Hey everyone. Well, I'll tell you about a couple things that flopped that I worked really hard on, and a couple things that worked pretty well. I've been with Fons and known Eric, I think 5 or 6 years, something like that. Full-time music teacher since then. Fons helped make that able to happen. Huge gratitude for Fons. Um, yeah, I moved from a place, city where I had a really successful thing going. I was like the really highly sought after, highest paid in-home music teacher. My whole thing was just making everyone so happy by going so far above and beyond. It was all referrals. That's all I needed to do. Got fully booked, did that for years, went great, and then had to move for a variety of reasons. And I'm in a new city where nobody knows me. People don't seem to charge as much here, like 30% less than I was used to charging. It's too far to do in-home lessons, so I've just been going online mostly. I already had some online, and I'm really just doing that through YouTube. And I've got My specialty is these little baby guitars, these things called Lug guitars,
Yeah.
free string, super easy. I can teach anyone to play one of these in 5 minutes. And that works great for 5 to 7 year olds. Um, and the things I'm trying to do right now, um, there's this guy, Paul the trombonist. Ever seen him on Facebook? He's got this course. I'm like, oh, he's talking about how to make huge amounts of money with group classes, online group classes. And I wasn't really sure if that would work for my age of student. His program was $10,000. I'm like, that's too much, buddy. I'm going to try this myself first. Took his free webinar, started doing a lot of the things. I feel like I got his business model, and it kind of flopped for me. Like, spent maybe 500 bucks in Facebook ads, built a nice landing page for it. I got 4 students, but 3 of them just knew me as friends and they saw me on Facebook, or they went to high school with me and wanted me to teach their kids. 2 of them dropped out, so now I just have 2 kids in there. Um, Kind of a flop, but I think there's a piece for it, like as a lower priced offering that sometimes might work for some people in some situations. So I'm not going to pull the plug on it, but it was an interesting experience. Like, how high my expectations were for how that would go and how it didn't really work that well. Um, Also working on building my course, which I've known for like 10 years I need to do, and would I see the power of it, but I want to do the same thing I did with my in-person lessons, which is make people so happy, just blow all their expectations about how much I care and how much I'm willing to do for them. I want to find a way to do that so people really just feel my care for them, um, and their kids, um, and be able to do that in a way that's sustainable, where it doesn't take too much time. So I paid for something called 30-day course creator. It's these guys, they're all over my Facebook feed, and I weighed a couple different options and I like them the best. The key to their thing, it's a 30-day course creator, but it's full-time work. They expect you to work full-time on it. It's like 6 to 8 hours a day it would take to really do all the things. So it's been slow for me, but I'm getting through it. Feeling a bit overwhelmed about just which way exactly to go and how to be better about fulfilling my commitments to myself and meeting deadlines. The best thing I have so far is this $2 kitchen timer for boiling eggs. I
Yeah.
set this sucker for 15 minutes and get myself started when I don't want to. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, just feeling a little overwhelmed, a little bit uncertain about next steps, but knowing there's something good and some way to really help people.
Ben, can I just is it okay if I jump in really quick and speak back to a couple things? Because this is another really good conversation you just brought up.
I'm complete. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So I want to lean into something that you mentioned. So I pretty much everybody, you don't have to know Ben Long to know that you talked about your previous life, but you talked about being an in-home teacher, but the excitement was how much you loved doing what you did, right? Right. So yeah, maybe the driving to houses sucked or whatever, but like you were in demand. You were that packed and you had that waiting list because you were being awesome. When you talk about that, and I know this because we've talked before, that was you really being the fullest version of yourself, right? You were, as we call, or it's our best self, right? That's how I'm like that with like teenagers, right? But I'm like really my best self when I'm hanging out with teenagers. And I really heard that in what you were saying. And then I thought it was really the arc of your conversation was so good. And then you brought up you're in this new town, you don't have that community yet, and people aren't making as much, right? So the average is a little bit lower. Hopefully the cost of living is lower too. I don't know. That's still, and so you made this move, and then you came across some Paul the trombonist ads, he has been incredible at making himself money, right? So his work is fantastic at making himself lots of money. He's that last vestige. He's getting all the sauce out of that big. He studied with some coach that told him that you have to have a $10,000 offer, maybe a $50,000 offer. And there's certain elements of what he does that is great, but there's also a lot of it, what John was saying. It's like this crap you're seeing in your feed about, oh, and then you do the ad, then you bring in your funnel and you do this. Well, so it's cool that you saw that. It's cool you saw that course. It's cool that you did your own thing. But when you did this, you're like, I'm going to do this online Lug course for 5 to 7 year olds, right? So I thought that was really interesting. And that's a really tough one, right? Now, if we look at that, and so what I see, and I'm just stepping back, and you can take this wherever you want to go with it, is like you said, mentioned that Lug guitar, I could see your eyes light up, right? You like hanging out with these kids. You like teaching them how to play Lug guitar. You're like, I can just keep playing in 5 minutes. That's like all the marketing copy you ever need. But like, I don't know if you've had a 5 year old, but like, I remember when I did, I would have paid to come to your studio and hang out with 3 other 5 year olds for an hour and just watch you play music with them. In fact, I did that. I was going to refer you to a program that I was a big, it was called Nurturing Pathways, which was like music and dance. And the founder of this, it's an international program, but it actually started in Seattle. And I was really fortunate to go see this woman do her work. And she had even it was like basically from two and up, learning music, learning movement, and it was neuro pathway development. Really cool. But the format of the class, I love what my kid was getting out of it. But I really loved that I had a place to go with my kid and got to see him do cool stuff with other kids. And to me, I could imagine you flourishing. Not saying you should, but you might want to explore creating these like Lug experiences, right? Where I could be pretty easy to market a group of people that would come in and start that way. Because 5 to 7 is really tough to teach privately. 5 to 7 is really tough it's really hard to teach online. I've tried it, maybe, but 5 to 7 is awesome when you've got like 5 year olds and 5 parents like hang out. Like you could create something there that would allow you to be yourself, that could turn into those referrals. And I don't know how to wrap this up, but from everything I heard you say, I wish maybe you and I can jump on a call and dive into it deeper together, which is that whatever the thing it is that you're doing, whether it's your course or how you're connecting into your new community, it seemed like you really valued your connection to your old community, and they valued you back by giving you a waiting list, right? And now you're in this, and whether it's the money thing or you're trying this new ways again, those you called them flops. And I actually had on my list, I was really hoping someone had something they considered a failure to share, because that's a great part of the journey, right? And then it's not really a failure. It's just like, oh, I tried this thing, but maybe if I reflect on what I really love, to do and what I want to do with my time and where I'm my best, how can I wrap that into something it could be really powerful. So if you want to follow up on that, I'd love to chat further. I don't want to take any more time, but I just really loved what you said, and I think you're in a really cool spot. So I don't
Thank
know if
you,
anybody
Eric.
wants to follow up on that thought, or what Ben was saying. Please do.
I just really related to what you were saying about when you're talking about going into courses and, wanting to serve more people, but really, maybe losing the connection that you have with your students one on one. That's something that I've wrestled with. I still teach 1 day a week private lessons just to get that. Um, but I think I would have underestimated the extent to which, if you're just your fullest self, if you're doing, it sounded like you're sort of interested in courses and YouTube stuff, because that's what I've gone into. And uh, I think if you're really passionate about teaching and have a lot of love for the people that are learning from you, that really shines through in your videos, in your email correspond. Like I have just brief but very warm and caring conversations with people that are finding me through YouTube, and I still feel like I have that, and I'm giving that. I don't see it as much like in the in person, like you see the expression on their face and you vibe with someone. But yeah, I feel like I can make a similar impact or a greater one. I just don't see it as much. But anyway,
And
that
you
kind of
can't fake
resonated
it
with me.
either, because like you can tell when you talk about it, you've got that really great energy about it. You took that shift to try going. I remember when you went over to YouTube, and you were still yourself, right? And then it felt so. Yeah, you're saying you don't get that same feedback directly because you're putting it all out, right?
It's not the same, but I get
Mhm.
get more of it than I would have expected.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And who's to say too that down the road, there's once you build a community, whether it's in Portland with some new people online, or whether it's online on YouTube, or it's in your new town with these 5 to 7 lead guitar maestros that you're hanging out with, you can do that online. but you can do an in real life experience, or you can create communities from these groups. You could introduce them to each other and they could practice together, or there's a lot of ways you can bring your work to life if you're online, right? You have a lot of options as you grow. So, and
Eric,
yeah, I
this
don't know who that
this
is.
is Ruth calling. I've been listening. I was trying to finish up a lesson that I had, but
Oh, wait, hi Ruth.
I
Yeah, it's so nice that you're here. Hey, welcome.
um thank you. I do teach group, and I want to expand mine. Now, I I do online. I love it. I have online students. It can be done. It just takes time to work it. But it was something you said about a pathway. This lady works with pathway.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I was just talking about a course for young development called Nurturing Pathways that
Oh,
I was
okay.
that I was really that this was a great job in small groups. Ruth, where are you located?
Okay. I'm in Savannah, Georgia. Let me swipe my.
All right, cool. Welcome to the scene. Oh, I think you might have muted. Here, your video's on, but your sound is off.
Okay,
There you
I'm
go.
sorry. I muted me.
Yeah, tell
Um,
us about yourself.
I've been in business for 5 years. I made it through the pandemic. Go into I had to go into online during the pandemic if I
Mhm.
was going to survive.
Yep.
And I made it. The kids helped me. The kids even helped me. And so I love it. Some of them decided they wanted to stay online, and we
Mhm.
did stay online. I do in person. I love it. I love it. And I just want to expand in person, online. I hear people talking about guitar. I want to add a guitar teacher.
Mm.
I just love exploring and doing more for my kids. I take them in the community. That's a good marketing tool. I haven't been too great with Facebook, more so word of mouth, but I'll post on Facebook and I'll post on Instagram. I'm about to try some marketing on Instagram since I never really did Instagram. So I plan on marketing on Instagram to see how it works. And any pointers or anything about Instagram? And
Well,
I
hey,
guess
Ruth,
I just need to do more with Facebook for it to work.
Ruth, well, maybe you do. How many you said you wanted to expand. Does that mean you're looking for more students? Or is your studio full?
I am. I have a full student, but I want to expand more so my online presence
Okay, and
because
why?
I do.
Just out of curiosity. What are you like? What is it that you want to, by expanding your online presence? What is
Hmm.
the end goal? Are you hoping to have more students reach out to you? Or are you hoping to sell something? Or just for fun, you just want to just be out there doing your thing?
Right now, reach out to more students. Later, put together a course and
Mhm.
have that so I can sell for those who may be in other states who may want it. Like I have 3 students that left Savannah and they're living now in a different state.
Hmm. So you might be able to reach them
And
too.
yes, but I still have the ones that moved,
Hmm.
but I want to reach out to more students.
Yeah, and it seems like you're in a place you've got a full studio and you're basically just doing some long tail marketing in advance, right? And as long as you're
Right.
out there taking these great students you have, I mean, the truth is that you doing an Instagram or a Facebook, your strategy for something, if you already have a full studio, you make content every single day. Your students succeeding, you go into their recitals, you having them perform in public, like you
Yes.
getting into a strategy of posting that on Facebook or post on Instagram is great. But I have a feeling that your marketing is mostly probably taking care of itself through word of mouth. I'm guessing that your
Yeah.
community probably shares about you. And so really the best thing that you can do to market your business is to be awesome, right? And so you're already there. You've already built that business. So unless you have a goal and say, I want to make 1.5 times more next year than this year. Well, then you're like, okay, cool. Maybe I need to raise my rates, introduce more group classes, bring on a guitar teacher. Okay, cool. Now I've got a plan to do that. Then maybe I
Okay.
need to use Instagram. But without, because the other reality is like having to do Instagram and having to do Facebook every day, it kind of stinks because there's like,
Okay.
if you can build a beautiful life without it and a business out of your great work, that's far more powerful, right? And
Okay.
and people are seeing your students play. They're saying, "Hey, where do you learn piano?" "Oh, from Dr. Ruth." "Cool, awesome." Do they call you Dr. Ruth, by the way? What do they call you?
Some of the kids, the little ones, I have 4 and 5-year-olds. They
Okay,
just call me Miss Liz. It's easier for them to say Miss Liz,
Miss
but
Liz.
they do
Okay.
call me Dr. Ruth.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I would be, it's fun to test your water or dip your toe in the water if you're interested in doing some social. And thanks, Steve, for sharing that kind of same thing. But from what I'm hearing you say, that's not the most important thing that you need, because it's almost you're saying, how can I optimize the work that I do? How can I continue to be vital and important and helpful to this community that you're serving, while at the same time having some tendrils going out to where maybe I am selling a few years, I'm able to sell courses uh, to people all around the country, or maybe to have more students, or to build out a school. So it'd be great
Okay.
I'd love sometime to just learn more about, your business and your work and where you are with it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for stopping
I know
by.
I heard the guys saying, we want to hear from the ladies. So
Yeah, we
I said, I got to
do.
come in.
Thank you, Ruth. Hey, I appreciate you
All
coming
right.
right in the middle of a lesson. It's nice to see you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
hey, and speaking of that, I see that Paige just showed up. Or Jelena, did you want to share something? We have a few minutes left.
I can share a little bit. I mean, this has been an interesting conversation because I'm seeing the difference between tutoring math and tutoring music. I don't have a public face as a math teacher. As a musician, you have a public face. And oh, by the way, I did finally get a keyboard, so at least I now have a musical instrument again. This is progress. So anyway, yeah. So it's yeah. I mean, there's ways it's really different, and there's ways that I've just been offline the last few months, and I just need to get ramped up again. But for me, it's got to be referrals. So what I was starting to do before I got COVID was I was starting to call private schools around to see if they had, knew anyone who had needs to tutor. And of course, each school has their own thing. Oh, we don't recommend, or oh, we don't really know you, or So it's I'm thinking now, who do I know who might have some kind of an affiliation with a school? Because that's how I got started with the referrals I had now. I had a friend, and I started seeing her son, and she's a teacher in a private school. And so she started sending me students, and, but I haven't, it's like that. If I had 3 schools like that, 3 teachers like that, then, that would make a difference. So just trying to figure out how to find connections to get connected to these people. So that's kind of where I am.
Okay, so this is an interesting thing. So you're trying to make connections for referrals, right?
Yeah.
And this is a big Steve thing too, going in, meeting up with the band directors, getting that relationship going. But do you feel, what's the word? Is there an anxiety or a hesitation to reaching out to the schools where you feel like, they don't need me, or what am I doing? Do you ever get any of that self-doubt?
Well, I did a bunch of that last year, and actually a few people remembered me from substituting. And so what happens in the public schools is they say, oh, well, we don't give referrals, so they do this whole little dance, or there's some kind of a list for people who have issues of sorts that they're trying to solve. Tutoring should be on that, but it's not. And so it's like I find myself going around in circles. Oh, talk to the PTA, talk to this person, and nobody has the authority to recommend anybody. So I think I got one referral from a public school from a counselor. I was never sure it was from a counselor or a teacher. That was not an appropriate referral for me. And also I think there was one more also. people not in the public schools can't necessarily afford a tutor. So, and since I, charge a fairly hefty fee,
Yeah.
So private schools are better in that way too, because, oh yeah, sure, we can, pay you $60 an hour. I mean, that's what my current students are now up to, and that's the discounted rate. So, because I raised my rates this year. So that was good. On the emotional side, I mean, wrote myself a note. I am not my mother. She was not good at promoting herself as a music teacher. She was a violinist. It's interesting. I found out my brother was in touch with one student of my mother's who became a professional musician. I just found this out a few months ago. So, Mom, you succeeded. But it's very small scale. I'd like to get my scale up just a little bit. And then some of my kids are moving into high school, so that's going to be really interesting how that goes next year. They'll probably want me to still tutor. I'm going to have to stay ahead of the stuff because, I mean, I studied the more complicated math many, many decades ago. So I'm going to have to do some reviewing this summer. That's going to be my entertainment. So
yeah, Jelena, let's, because I wish we could take, and maybe we can discuss this together or through the group or on another call, the two of us. I'd love to distill down because I think it's difficult. You have this core nucleus. It's a different trip of marketing. And there might be some ideas that you can explore that would work really, like maybe there's some way to take the students that you have and parlay those into referrals. Maybe there's a way for you to like offer to go into certain schools and give a little bit of your time to get to know them. Maybe there's a way for you to hyper niche and you just pick a random spot, whether there's, a social area somewhere like right near where you live. I'm thinking of like the tennis club or something like that, where, parents would be going with their kids, where you would be really convenient to see your name there. Right. I feel like for what you're doing, there's almost some kind of word of mouth would be great. It's a real grind to be out there, just like advertising, hanging up flyers, being like, oh, here's math tutoring. It's what you want is you want to be in the right place at the right time when two families are having dinner and one dad says, oh my gosh, Johnny's crushed his math. And then the other parent's like, wait, really? Because, Jacob sucks. And so how are you doing? And you're like, you want to get your name into those conversations. And it could be there could be really cool tangential ways to do it that could be super vibey. So we could explore that together and maybe to give you something to focus on that felt really like that you were doing. That might be my encouragement is maybe we scratch a little bit deeper into that together. So, and I'd love to talk with you about it. So
that'd be lovely. I'll message you. Maybe we can find out time to talk. Yeah.
I just realized it's already 11:30, which is crazy. This went so. If anybody needs to jump, by all means, feel free. I don't know. We haven't heard from Paige, but if anybody else has something that they'd want to.
I'm here.
Hi, Paige. Are you in school right now?
You hear me? No,
Yeah,
I'm actually driving. That's why I'm hands-free, and it just took me a minute to find the button safely.
Glad you're safe. Nice to see you. What's up,
Yeah.
Paige?
Nothing. So I got here a little late because I finished teaching at like 1:55, and then I had to get to my car. But are we just kind of like sharing out where we're at in our studios and what our next steps are and questions? Is that basically what's been happening this session?
We've just been whatever opportunities we're looking for. Today's just been a super vibey day of connecting, sharing marketing ideas, talking about where we are in our studios. We're whatever's coming up in this kind of dreaming season between now and the new year.
So yeah, for context, I'll give you this 30-second background and then I'll tell you kind of where I'm at. And any feedback, I'd love to hear it. So I had my studio for about 15 years in New York City, and I moved to Marlboro, New Jersey. And in New York City, I was mainly doing one-on-ones because I didn't have a space for anything more. But when I went to Marlboro, I was really taken back by the interest of people looking for music teachers. There was tons of music studios. However, and not to knock franchise style music studios, but they were not feeling satisfied. The community wasn't satisfied with what they were receiving, mostly because I think a lot of the studios in this area were hiring high school kids or college kids. And, the people here, they have money, they want to spend money on quality education. They were trying to find good teachers to do it. So I filled a gap, and I very quickly, within 6 months, got my studio up to about 40 students. And I
That's
built
crazy.
up 4 group classes.
Did you say
Started doing group classes.
Wait, can I
Yeah.
interrupt you? Did you say in 6 months you went from
Yes.
0 to 40 students?
Yes.
That's insane. That's a whole other conversation. That's amazing. Okay, just keep going. Sorry. That's
Yeah,
really good.
so I started just posting on the local mom groups that I was available with a little bio and a picture of me conducting. And I had, before I knew it, I started this in March for reference. And by June, I had 4 group classes running that were full, 6 classes a piece, and then one-on-ones in between, etc. And I want to continue to grow it. I want to get 2 more group classes going, which you would think, okay, that's going to be so easy because she did 4 of them like overnight. But I also feel that when it comes to the mom groups, they know me already. They've seen my posts. So I need to expand my reach a little bit. I need to reach the people I'm not reaching yet. And so I don't have a website. I don't have a social media. This was just me talking to people in the community and word of mouth. So now I feel like I want more of a legitimate presence. I want to build that website. I'm looking into the option of the social media, and I was taking in a lot of the things that you were saying. And I'm wondering what you might think about how it might apply to me at this time. But I'm really just trying to figure out what the next step is. I don't have a storefront. I do this out of a space in my home. I don't know that I don't know if a storefront's going to be right for me, because I would have to escalate to 3-4 times what I'm doing just to pay the rent. Like I might even be making more money now just doing it myself, teaching for like 9 hours a week and collecting all those tuitions. But I also would like to maybe hire a substitute teacher that I can trust, so that if I do need a night off, I can take it. So right now I'm at a point where I'm carefully trimming students that I feel like are not serious, or families that are not serious, to make room for other classes and spots for more serious people. And at the same time, I want to know I can maybe hire a couple serious teachers to help fill gaps. I've even thought of maybe, there's a lot of people that want teachers to come to their homes. I had one woman that reached out to me last week. She wants someone to come to her house because she has 5 children and she wants someone to teach all 5 of them. I would love if I had teachers that I could send out and I could manage the books, manage the payroll, make the appointments, and send out a quality teacher to someone's home. So I'm trying to like reach other parts of the market, the teach from home thing. I do some online stuff because I still teach some of my students in New York City. You know, reaching to the next level of presence in the community. So it's like I see so many options. I just don't know what the next logical move is and where I should bring my focus to.
Well, that's a tremendous, I mean, congratulations. That's a lot to unpack. I think everybody's nodding their heads. I don't think you can see us because you're driving, but you have unlocked a winning strategy already. I mean, to get to where you've gotten to that quickly, you've come into a community, you nailed your messaging, and hopefully, because I saw you make a post about wanting to do a website and want to do all these things. I loved what you said, and these are all choices. You have so many different ideas that you could explore, and you have a lot of excitement for it. And I know you personally from talking before, you can probably manage a lot more than most people can, but you've already achieved this great amount of success. And I love that you're thinking I could do a storefront, but I don't think I would want to have to make that much more to manage a storefront. I think the magic might be you, right? I think that the magic might be you came in and you competed against these franchise options. You found your marketing space, which happened to be the parents groups. Well, the cool thing about parents groups is new people are coming into them all the time, right? Every day, new people become parents and they have their kids in that. If you're nailing that and people are, I mean, it's almost like, why put energy into opening a store space, maybe hiring some teachers to do a little bit, but you might want to explore, is that something that really pays as much of an ROI for the amount of work that it takes, right? Suddenly now you're managing liability insurance, you're dealing with teachers who might not be, and maybe you find people that are fabulous, but, and maybe you love managing people, but there's, there's getting people to work for you. That's a whole big bucket in itself. So it's almost like you almost need like a lid. A website for you right now is just to hedge your bets in case your leads stop coming in, which I don't think that's going to happen. If you've gotten this much action this fast in your studio, your word of mouth is done, because all these people that are studying with you, I think you're going to have more leads than you can manage moving forward. If you've already made that much of an impact on a community, if you love teaching out of your house, like I do, I love teaching out of this studio. Like, I wouldn't want to have another space unless it was just another cool spot similar to this. So I think it'd be really, if you'd want to, we could unpack some of that stuff together in another call and work through.
Sure.
And that's for you, social media could just be, like we were saying before, a fun thing to highlight the successes of your students, to show the fun things that you're doing every day, to show how innovative your classes are, to show what a great vibe your studio space is, because you nailed it, which is like, people can go to a franchise and check off the box of my student studies, but there's only one you. There's only one your studio. There's only one community that you've built, and there is an energy and there's a personality to that business you've built. And so you have a different challenge, which is you've put yourself into a perfect location at a perfect time with an incredible differentiator, which is yourself against the and you've created limited supply, meaning people were like, oh gosh, I'll never get in with her. I'm sure she's booked. She teaches out of her house. Dang it. And so you've done all these things. They're marketing, but you haven't thought of it that way. Or maybe you have, but it's hard to fake. Those things usually they occur when you're on the right path. So it's almost like, how can you lean further into that? And that's a lot I'm trying to reflect back on everything you said, but there's so much good stuff there. I don't know if anybody else would
I
want
know
to
I
share
said
something.
a lot. I'm sorry, but that's just kind of how my brain works right now. I've thought of, well, maybe I could build an extension on my home so it has a separate entrance. If I just had one more additional space and one good teacher, I could double everything I'm doing. Someone even mentioned to me, a friend of mine owns a music studio in New York City. He was like, well, why don't you build a second structure in your backyard? I mean, I have to look at the zoning laws on all this, of course, but yeah, it gets complicated with looking at liability insurance and all the other things too, like you mentioned. So it's just, I'm trying to get a better education on what different pathways will entail so that I can see like what's right for me. And yeah, I think part of it is when people look for lessons, they go on Google, they look up lessons, they go to the first place that they see. So I feel like having a website or at least a Google presence would be helpful. And when it comes to social media, I totally agree with you. That's exactly what I was looking for. Just so that when I do make posts on the local groups, I don't have to explain myself so much. I can just link it to my social media and say, look, take a look at what we're doing. You don't need me to explain it so much. You could see it for yourself before you get to the studio.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think, I think those are great ideas, and they're all worth exploring. And, whether it's creating more space in your studio, building a website so people can find you, the great thing is you can take a moment, which if you haven't, it doesn't sound like it's your speed, but taking a moment to just be really grateful that you pulled this off so quickly. This is not normally how it goes. And just maybe say, wait, what I wanted to do was this thing in this place where I live, and I pulled it off and I'm crushing it. And maybe just like, I would wonder if your best bet would be to just savor every student and every class you teach, and then in between that, rest and read books and play music and just be, I don't know, it's a triumph. So because those things, that energy that you put into it really does cycle back into new opportunities, and you seem like somebody that would grab them and be like, oh, there's an opportunity, I'm going to do that. I'll buy this space down the road that's a commercial space outright, and I'll own it. Right. And then I'll put my thing there, not only and suddenly now I've got this space. I'm just throwing out random ideas, but when you have this kind of momentum, things pop up. And that's what we were talking about at the beginning of the day. This idea of opportunities will come when you're in a good place or when you need them to. So, hey, thank you for coming and sharing. That's what a cool story to finish the day on. So,
Yeah, no problem.
and anytime you want to talk further, ping me. I'd love to flesh out ideas with you together
I would
anytime.
love that. I need a think tank to just kind of like put my thoughts in order because it feels overwhelming right now.
Oh, I bet it must be. It's a lot going on inside that noggin. Mm-hmm.
Always.
Yes.
Always.
Well, hey, you know what? I have to get ready for another meeting that's not just playing my new amp that I was talking about earlier. This is an actual meeting. But I wanted to thank everybody for this break from reality and this great moment of actual reality of being together, and for everybody seeing all these friendly faces and sharing. As always, I did record this. If anybody would not want me to share it, I won't, but I think there was some really good stuff in here today that other people might want to listen to. I'm going to do a follow-up post to the Facebook group today. So if you wanted to have any, ideas or share anything, please add it there. Like for instance, Nate, it'd be great if you could share a link to your website that we could see the changes you made. That was such a cool way to start our day. And as always, if anybody wants to follow up anything personally, please reach out to me. My DMs are always open. I'm happy to jump on a call with anybody. And I'm really happy to be connecting with people these days more than ever. So it's good to have a little human interaction. So anyway, thanks everybody for coming. It's great to see you. Appreciate your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah,
Good to
see you soon,
everyone.
friends. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.